Hey, folks, welcome to the Leeds View podcast. We do these podcasts twice a week on a Tuesday and on a Thursday, along with daily Leeds United news. It is available on YouTube and across all of your audio platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else where you get your podcasts. If you like this sort of thing that we do here, you can give us a follow, a channel rating, and a subscribe and a like on YouTube. It would be massively appreciated. We're into our last transfer talk of this transfer window before the deadline day stuff kicks into action. It looked like it was going to be a very quiet evening, but in true Leeds United fashion, it got a little bit interesting about 4:30 today, and it's continued to get a bit more interesting this evening. So we're going to get into all the JSL talk, as well as I suppose we'll talk about Raheem Sterling just for the crack, and we'll see where we go with that. And then just the general lads' thoughts, and we look ahead to Everton as well. Delighted to be joined by Andrea Russo, who has joined us for all of our transfer talks this year, and also delighted finally, by popular demand and been asked for on a regular basis, to be joined by Adonis Storr, who has taken time out of his day to come and have a chat with us. Adonis, first things first, welcome to the View, and thank you finally for agreeing to come on to this. Well, not that you didn't agree to come on to this, you have for months, we just haven't been able to get this done. But you've been asked for quite a lot, so finally delighted to have you on the channel. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, lovely to be here. Thanks for the invite. Thanks to all of the commenters who made this happen. And yeah, we've had a little break from the Roaring Peacock podcast tonight, so I am available. But yeah, if you don't know me, so I'm the Leeds United fan writer for BBC Sport, and I'm quite active on Elon Musk's platform, talking about Leeds United. So yeah, I'm good. And it's good to see you again, Joe. We only met briefly in Dublin, but yeah, it's lovely to see you. And you too, Andrea.
Same, mate. Same, Adonis. Yeah, very good pleasure, because we only followed each other on Twitter, but never had the chance, like we were saying before going live, to chat face to face. Yeah, like in this case.
Well, it's great to have you on. As I say, lots of people ask. Go check out the Roaring Peacock as well. I will leave the details down below in the description. If you're not following, you should be. It's a really good podcast and very much worth taking some time to listen to and spend your evening with that one. So there's a bit of stuff to get stuck into tonight. Andrea, I never asked how you were, mate. How are you doing?
Nah, good, Joe. I hope it's the same for you. Long day. I just got home like five minutes ago. So we recorded the podcast with Loki, of course, today, because it's recording day usually. I think it will come out probably tomorrow, not tonight, to be fair. But if you see me like with the same outfit, that's a specific reason, because I didn't have the time to like switch clothes as I just got home, But it's always a pleasure to be invited by you and be here and to talk about our beloved Leeds United,
Yeah, Andrea does own more than one jumper, just in case you don't realize that. But yeah, you can check Andrea out on the Unfiltered Football podcast over on lufc Leeds. Again, details of that will be down below. Cracking podcast, as I always say. It's on the longer end of podcast, but that's how I like my podcast, especially in the gym. So it's a nice chunky one, and the detail is always fantastic from the two lads as well. So very much worth your time listening to that. I'll get my words sorted out tonight at some point. It's been a long day. This is the third stream of the day. Right, we'll start off though. Let's get into the Jurgen Strand Larsen situation, because it's funny. So many people didn't want him until we didn't get him, and then all of a sudden it was the worst transfer window in the history of Leeds transfer windows, and there was a mini meltdown online. £50 million was the rumoured price or package for Jurgen Strand Larsen from Crystal Palace. It went out this morning via Fabrizio Romano, who tweeted, "Here we go. £45 million plus £5 million up front." Leeds weren't willing to go over the £40 million mark, and Leeds' deal was very much a structured deal spread out over the length of a contract, where Palace don't have the PSR issues and have a few Mark Gahey quid still knocking around in their back pocket to get it done. Seemed like it was done, all sorted. Then David Ornstein put a piece out saying, "Yep, that looks like it's going to be done. Great. Okay." Then Farke had his press conference. We'll get into that in a bit more detail, but didn't want to talk about it too much. Did give the indication that there might be still some business to do, as much as he tends to say. And then this evening, John Percy in the Telegraph, and a big thank you to Phil Robertson, who pointed me in the direction of this as well. John Percy, a very accredited journalist, put out a piece in the Telegraph saying, well, actually, hang on a second, this might not be the case, because Crystal Palace have agreed a loan move with Aston Villa for Gassond, which means that the Strand Larsen deal might be on hold. That's not confirmed to be on hold. It's still a potential at this point. But it wouldn't be a transfer window, Adonis, if Leeds United weren't involved in some sort of transfer saga that rumbled on all the way to deadline day and then likely doesn't get done.
I think they should have got him in the kit, done all the promo shots, done the medical, signed the contract and then just not picked up the phone. That would have been the ultimate
James
Leeds
style.
United, wouldn't it?
Yeah, very Leeds United.
Exactly. It's a weird one, is Strand Larsen. I mean, it's obviously Mateta is a domino transfer. Palace seem to be falling apart. Lost their captain. They're definitely going to lose their manager as well. He's thrown the buggy out the pram. And Strand Larsen, the centre of it all for us, is gone 007 this season. That's 0.07 goals per 90. And I realise that nobody from Wolves are playing well. And as Farke said today, in January, the only players who are available have either had injuries or are out of form or in some way unwanted from their clubs. And therefore it's unlikely for us that we're going to get somebody in form who's affordable, is going to come in and hit the ground running and spur on our charge to European football.
Yeah. It's still evolving. Like Paul Brooker's obviously not with us tonight. He's in London with work, but he is here in spirit because he's currently sending me tweets and messages. And he's actually sent me Adonis's tweet, one of the ones he sent me. After Ghassan deal, Strand Larsen to LUFC is still a possibility due to doubts that Palace can do both. Ben Jacobs, ever reliable Ben Jacobs, has tweeted, exclusive, Crystal Palace are yet to submit their formal bid for Jørgen Strand Larsen, despite agreeing a 45 plus £5 million fee. Transfer currently in doubt after Palace agreed deal for Evan Ghassan. I'm trying to wrap my head around how you can submit a bid for 45.5 or get an agreement on a 45 plus £5 million bid, but actually not submit the bid. That's a little bit a slight head wobbler. Then a piece from the Telegraph reads, Crystal Palace have agreed a deal to sign Evan Ghassan on loan from Aston Villa with an option to buy the forward at the end of the season. The move raises doubts over whether Palace will push ahead with a deal to pursue Wolverhampton Wanderers striker Jørgen Strand Larsen. The South London club were set to submit a bid of around £45 million, and sources have suggested they may now be in jeopardy after an agreement was reached over Ghassan. Clear as mud, Andrea, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. When you said Paul is in London, I thought he's in London to block the transfer of Strand Larsen to Palace. He's there in place, to block everything. But yeah, honestly, it's purely nice the fashion looks like we're still in the mix. But looking at the fact that Palace were very close to sign him, according to the reports this morning, very early, from especially Romano and Austin. For me, it doesn't make sense on their part to switch everything and put all their weight on Ghassan, because Ghassan, if you look at his positioning, especially after he signed for Villa and when he was in France at Nice, he mainly played on the wing. So for me, the idea I have in my mind is they're going to sign, they have everything lined up for Strand Larsen, but before that, they need to move out Mateta in order to pursue the one of Strand Larsen, because they still have Eddie Nketiah, for example. They also have Cristante Suche, who can play in multiple positions. In Spain, he played as centre mid, as a 10, as a striker. He has a body type that allows him to play in multiple positions effectively. So for me, it's more down like, can Palace sell Mateta? Mateta wants to leave, of course. If they can, I think they are playing the waiting game for that reason. If they can get a deal over the line, because now there's apparently a bidding war or an interest war, because even at the Strand Larsen deal looked done and dusted this morning. Now now we read that they still haven't formally submitted the bid. So even for Mateta, I don't know what to believe right now, because I see reports about an interest from AC Milan. I see Mateta hedging towards a Nottingham Forest transfer. Juve were interested in Italy. They had almost done. They almost sealed the transfer of En-Nesyri, but then En-Nesyri tried to get in touch with Sevilla, get them moved back to Sevilla, because he had already played there before moving to Fenerbahce. So I think Juve might still be in the mix, because they're still looking for a striker. So yeah, it's all a bit of a confusion and a mess. But in the end, my idea is like, if they manage to find the solution for Mateta, they will pursue both deals, because in the end, and Gesand is not a typical 9. He can play there, of course, but you don't substitute Mateta if he goes out with Gesand. For me, in my perspective, you substitute it with a similar player, and that player is Strand Larsen. But that's where we can come out as winners. The only problem is that if Wolves know that Palace are willing to go that high with that price tag around £50 million, while on the other hand we are willing to stay and all our ground, in around the offer of £40 million. I think it's a good strategy for us because of PSR reasons too. But another club knows that he can place an offer in the middle, another club needing a player like that. Because even if Mateta goes abroad, for example, we know that Nottingham Forest were looking for a striker in that sense. But there's also the fact that they have a lot of players up front in that sense, because there's, of course, some of them have been injured, like Chris Wood, Taiwo Awoniyi, Igor Jesus. So if I am a player like Strand Larsen,
Awoniyi is back now as well. He came off the bench.
Exactly.
He is back,
and he scored. So if I'm in Strand Larsen mind, I'm choosing to go to a place like where I'm becoming the replacement of like Mateta, for example, at Palace, or they have a plan for me straight away like Leeds. But anything can change if, for example, Mateta goes abroad, and now we know that Forest were in the market for a striker, and they might even turn their attentions into Strand Larsen. But yeah, look what happened with Bonanot in the end. He made the right decision now in January, but in September, he was tempted by the prestige, Chelsea, Champions League, everyone there, and now he realized he made a mistake because he was barely playing. Now he has a path of getting minutes, here at Leeds. Yeah,
it remains an interesting one. Before we move on, I want to just let you know there's a QR code up in the top corner as well, that it will bring you to the tickets for the Square Balls gig in the Roisin Dove in Galway in March. If you're interested in going to that, they've got 2 other gigs, Dublin and Belfast. They're pretty much sold out, but the gig in the Roisin Dove in Galway is still available. Cracking spot, great location. I'm heading to that one myself. So if you are interested in that, that's the one to check out. Adonis, the interesting part about this is now, as Andrea's alluded to, with the fee, they've kind of shown their hand. 45 million plus 5, that's gone in. Whether it's gone in fully or not, still, we'll find that out. We know where Leeds sit, 35, 36 plus 4, 5, in around the £40 million mark. Does this weaken Wolverhampton's Wanderers' hand now, if it's a case that Palace go, do you know what, actually we're gonna sit this one out?
Well, absolutely. I mean, their hands couldn't be weaker, could they? I mean, I imagine he's got some sort of clause in there, a relegation release clause. Yeah. So I think that they're probably playing on that a bit as well. And of course, in the summer there'll be more suitors, but the price will go down either to that clause level or, potentially even lower. And it really depends on how he plays in the last half of the season as well. But it's certainly weakened their hand. They would have been rubbing those hands with glee when this bidding war sort of started. But yeah, for Crystal Palace, they're just a complete mess. The thing is, if you're Steve Parish, you're probably thinking, well, we're getting a new manager in the summer anyway. So is it best to, either give him Strand Larsen if Mateta goes, or, give him the money, give him a healthy transfer budget and say, look, you can shape the squad how you want to. I know if I was a new manager coming in, well, I wouldn't be in that position, but let's say hypothetically I was, I'd think I'd prefer the money. I'd prefer the option. I prefer to go into the market on my own terms. But in terms of Wolves, I mean, Wolves, then they're getting relegated. I think they have to see that reality now. I don't think any team has turned it around from as far back as they are. So they're definitely going down, and we've felt that bite when you go down. You need to sell, or have a loan exodus. Get a few of their players off to Union Berlin. That'll be brilliant for them.
Yeah.
Or Everton. Yeah. So it's Wolves' position is definitely weaker. Yeah.
There's another message. Our roving reporter Paul Brooker continues to update us, but up to the minute. By the way, we're recording this at around about 6:20. just a timestamp because somebody at 7 o'clock tonight will tell me that's all news. But as it's breaking, Jesus, Paul has sent me a message from Sammy Mockbell, BBC Sports, saying Crystal Palace move for Wolves striker Jørgen Strand Larsen is in the balance after the South London club have now communicated their intention to walk away from the deal. So, Andrea, it looks like they're not going to do the two, at least right now, unless they're trying to wiggle that price down that they've gone in. And really, I mean, people were saying today, we offered 40 and they've gone in with 50. Maybe chill a little bit, like maybe work your way up to that price and try and get it somewhere in the middle. But they appear to have blown their load with that kind of one. Have just gone bang, there you go. There's a load of money, and then gone. Actually, do you know what? Hang on.
Yeah, it's like a crossroads for us in that sense, because they'll try probably to make us, if we are the only other party interested, to get us even 43, 45, 45 better, in terms of improving our offer, but dragging us towards deadline day, it's a risk for them. It's a risk for us because if the deal doesn't materialize, we probably there's a lot of similarities actually with the Buonanotte deal of last summer, because in the end it almost materialized, but then it didn't, and we had like 72 hours before deadline day at the time to find a plan B, and the plan B was Harry Wilson, and the plan B dragged till deadline day, and in the end we didn't make it happen, and because it was too late in order to make that plan B concrete, to finalize that, and something can happen too with in this case, because it's clear that we want a strike. If we were willing to put in a bid of 40 million pounds for Strand Larsen, I think a lot is also connected to the situation of Joel Piroe for me, because in the end we will have like DCL, Mecha, Okafor, and of course Piroe. Then you can also add, if we play 3-5-2 like Leonto has played as a second striker for the 321s, and also Aronson, because technically second striker on paper, of course, his role is different. It's like a free roam playmaker behind the striker in that sense if he plays there in a 3-5-2. But in the end, it's a risk for both. Like if he stays, like Adonis mentioned, for example, a relegation clause, they are certain to go down and they will lose him for maybe a lesser fee, almost probably, because I don't know, cannot recall when he signed that contract, if there were rumors about that, if there were specific about that. But of course, when he signed from Celta Vigo, his value was way lower because it was the season before he absolutely revealed that he was capable of scoring goals for fun in the Premier League last season. So it's a risk in that sense for them, because if the player stays, then he will go for a lesser fee in the summer if he has a relegation clause. Otherwise, they will need to sell him for a lesser fee because there's no chance they will get another offer of 50 million pounds, especially because their ultimate mistake was not accepting the 55 million pounds from Newcastle last summer. Now the 50 million pounds offered by Crystal Palace are unrealistic for me. It's not its real value at the minute. For me, it's around between 30 and 35. Of course, the market is inflated, so around 40. I think our bid is realistic considering the inflated market so far. But on the other hand, it's also a risk for us because maybe we try to hold our ground to a 40, like accept this is our ultimate bid. But if it drags into deadline day, and it didn't materialize, we end up empty-handed. We maybe keep Piroe, but we needed something different because in the end, Piroe has 10 appearances this season, and for his career at 26, I think he needs to move in this window, honestly, because he's not getting minutes, he's not getting ahead of Okafor, not getting ahead of DCL and Mecha, even ahead of Gnonto, of course, in that second striker role. So I get the ambition that I'm not the championship player anymore. I prove my value in the championship. I score goals for Swansea City, I score goals for Leeds. I don't want to step a level down again. But even the link of Florian Plettenberg, from Sky Deutschland, he decided it might be an option for Rangers. If you want to read into that, it's like, okay, Joel, you're not going to get any minutes. We are loaning you out to our other club, not saying that, of course.
Sister club.
sister club, because there might be some Rangers fans watching and saying, "Oh, you are downplaying us." In that sense, they have a lot of history too. Maybe loan out. Yeah, I know that they are not very popular in Ireland.
There's an Irish person in the room. Yeah, settle down, lads. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. But it's like an option like Piroe on loan. Of course, it doesn't help a lot with PSR, and we have at least one free space in the squad to add another striker. Yeah.
Yeah, that I was going to say that Adonis as well. There is that floating, and Plettenberg doesn't tend to tweet for the sake of tweeting. He's not what you describe as a clickbait merchant, so he tends to tweet something where there's information. He's saying possible loan to Rangers, which would give the indication that there's still possibly some hope, maybe not of Strand Larsen, but of Leeds bringing another striker in. And if you read into Daniel Farke's comments, then try and cut through all of the words that were used and try and find the key ones. There's two lines that stand out to me. He said, "The club knows what I think we need to do. I don't want to give too much away." And then later on, he said that we need to make sure we have the best possible squad for the second half of the season. That would suggest to me he wants to do something between now and the end of the window. Given the Joe Piroe thing, do you have any faith? And I don't have a massive amount of faith. If it gets to deadline day and we haven't done anything, but between now and then, do you have any faith that Leeds will bring anything in? And if they don't bring anything in, do you think we've got enough to run till the end of the season, bearing in mind Lucas Metch has picked up another little injury and missed the game at the weekend?
Well, I got the impression from Farke that it was 1 in, 1 out. Yeah. So in order to bring in Strand Larsen or an other striker, we'd need to get rid of Piroe. Piroe's not playing. Even when we're playing this sort of 3-5-2, it's kind of more like a 3-4-2-1 with 2 10s. There's not really any room for him. I mean, if Aronson is getting in ahead of him, and Aronson has been playing very, very well. And Piroe is a fantastic striker, but I didn't think he would be the right type of striker for the Premier League. You talk about not respecting Rangers. I mean, I've got a ton of respect for Rangers and Celtic and the Scottish Premier League, but it's not the English Premier League, which is, as we all know, the richest league in the world. So it's no slight on them. I think this would be a fantastic deal for Rangers. I think Joel Piroe would score 20, maybe even 30 goals in the Scottish Premier League. I think he'd go down as a Rangers legend. And talk about respect for them. I mean, the players that they've had over the years. It's a historic football club. I mean, you would go into Ibrox packed full to capacity. I mean, there'd be few places that would be louder or more vociferous, more meaningful. So I think it'd be a great move for him. And in terms of, Strand Larsen and January, the thing is with the January market, it's always inflated, as Andrea was sort of hinting at, and you there's an opportunity here to bring in Strand Larsen. And I think we've set out a stall and we've put in the right bid. I wouldn't go higher than that. I think that would be too much. And Farke talked about it as well. He talked about the issue of overpaying during January and not wanting to risk what they could do in the summer. But if there's an opportunity, and I think you can see why. He was screaming for attacking players towards the end of the window. And I was really concerned because we brought in some great signings. And you have to say, the recruitment since Victor Orta has been driven out of the club. It's been fantastic. I mean, we've got some incredible players at cut prices, but they focus really on defenders and midfielders, 27-year-old giants, and it's worked. You can't say it hasn't, but we went really light on forwards, and we only brought in a couple of guys on freeze and with histories of injuries, but we kept them relatively fit and healthy. And of course, they've done, I mean, Calvert-Lewin has far surpassed my expectations. But I think if you did bring in somebody of real quality who could push them and who could fill in when Metcher inevitably has an injury, when I hope, touch wood, Calvert-Lewin, let's just hope he stays fit. But if we did get a few injuries, then we would need somebody to step up. And Piroe, clearly he's not right for the Premier League, and that's when somebody like a Strand Larsen would come in invaluable.
Yeah, I do feel sorry saying it out loud with Joel Piroe, because I do like Joel Piroe. I do think he's got a lot to offer. I actually was, when I saw Leeds playing with a two up front with Calvert-Lewin and Mecha, I got a little bit of hope of going, we might actually finally see Joel Piroe playing in a two, and we actually get the best out of him. But then we've seen Noah Okafor playing that position. We've seen Nanto come on into that position. Brendan Aronson playing as a more advanced player. And then they brought Buenanotte in as well. So it's starting to look like there's just a lot of options in Daniel Farke's mind ahead of Joel Piroe. And yeah, I mean, God love Celtic. They had a crack at it. I would have loved to have seen him in a green and white shirt. I think, again, to your point, Adonis, I think he would have absolutely smashed it and was exactly what Celtic are lacking this year. But I think he'd do the exact same thing in a Rangers shirt. And I've no animosity towards Rangers. I've an ex-girlfriend of mine is a Glaswegian Rangers fan. So yeah, I've been over there plenty of times on that side of the fence. So no issues there. But yeah, a loan out would mean Leeds would probably be looking for a loan in, because financially it would make a massive amount of sense. But yeah, it remains to be seen what we'll do. But it will be interesting, no doubt. It'll rumble on. Fingers crossed it rumbles on and someone actually walks in the door this time and doesn't. I just don't want to get to deadline with Leeds going, there's still hope. I'm going, well, there's not, because it's deadline day. So we're going to get to 7 o'clock and go, we nearly got there. But
don't go to bed just yet. Don't go to bed just yet.
I just see that the ultimate nightmare would be Piroe off to Rangers in the hope that we get Strand Larsen, then we don't get Strand Larsen. Then the last minute, we have to recall Harry Gray.
Yeah, this is Dom Poley on Matt Smith territory right now. Like, so we don't want to get into that again. Yeah, I would love for the day where Leeds put a tweet out the day before deadline day and just say, "Go to bed, lads, we're done." That would be great. Do that. That would be fantastic. Then we'd be all like, "Right, grand."
I think if it happens, we'll see first the player coming in, and then straight after Piroe going out. Not the opposite for me.
It's not a complicated one to do if he is going to Rangers. Although we do have to keep pointing this out to people. 49ers Enterprises don't own Glasgow Rangers. Andrew Kavanagh owns Glasgow Rangers. The 49ers Enterprises are the minority partner, albeit a very big minority, but they are still, and Prague is the vice chairman there. But it is Andrew Kavanagh who was wielding the axe at the start of the season, firing people and reshaping the club. So there is still that. But yeah, it did have a hint of, you're not going near Celtic, pal. If you're going anywhere, you're going to Rangers, and we're looking after that. So he can get that move pretty quickly if it does need to be done. And yeah, and if it is, he wants to weigh up his options at the end of the season. Still keeps him involved with the club. He'll still likely get his bonus if Leeds stay in the Premier League. He gets to go off and play football for Rangers and score an absolute ton of goals up there. And as Adonis has said, become a bit of a legend there. And then he can assess his options and see where he wants to go next season. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. Our roving reporter, Paul, has gone quiet on the ground now. So either he's found his way into a coffee shop or someone's cutting the cord on his info. But we'll give you more news on that when we get. I know, right? Lacking, absolutely. There's do we even get into this one? And I'll ask you, Andrea, because the Square Ball are probably playing a bit of mischief with this Dan Moylan, so they're trying to set a rumor about. But it has been mentioned as well. Raheem Sterling's been released by Manchester City. He's a free agent. Dan Moylan said he was seen in the services in Leeds, or shopping centre, the Swan in Leeds off the M1. So does that one even make sense? Like, he's a winger. Leeds aren't playing with wingers right now. Yeah. Would you? I mean, even until the end of the season, it wouldn't make a huge amount of sense, would it?
Yeah, I agree with you, because I was talking about this with Luke this morning. You know, after his release from Chelsea, first he still has very huge wage demands. Apparently,
280,000 a week.
Yeah, and that's the problem first and foremost, because he needs to understand that he is not the Sterling he was. You know, I think the last important Sterling, the decisive Sterling that we've seen was at Euro 2020. When he scored that goal with the assist against Croatia by Calvin Phillips. You know, he had a very good Euro campaign. But after that, I think his downward trajectory started, especially after that loan, you know, at Arsenal. It wasn't prolific. So now I think he really goes abroad. I think it would be good for him to move abroad. Especially there's apparently some top sides from abroad that are looking to sign him. But in a Leeds shirt, first and foremost for the wages and the way he sees himself apparently still as a top player. I don't think that's the case, to be fair, especially because he hasn't been involved this season. So one thing is training on your own, or training with a group of players, because you may remember the video of the players, the exiled players, at Chelsea, the one training, not part of the squad. They had like their own locker room, or their own dressing room. So one thing is training with a group of players on your own, and one other thing is playing in a game. So technically, he hasn't played a game since last season, so it's a big risk for every club to get him now, and to get him back in.
25th of May was his last game.
Yeah, that's eternity. That's an eternity for a player, especially a player of his caliber. I may have a comparison for you, like Lorenzo Insigne. I'm sure that the English fans watching may remember him after our Euro 2020 victory. But yeah, he was still a top player back then. Then after that, he went to Toronto FC in the MLS. He was a free agent since last July. He was linked with Lazio because of Sarri, the manager that basically launched him when he was at Napoli the first time on the big stage after he did it in the second tier with Pescara, with Zeman. He was linked to Lazio. Eventually, he signing it during these hours. It's still not official, but it's going to happen. He's going to sign with Pescara again, who are last. We are bottom in Serie B in the second tier of Italy because no one else will take him. There were too much risks. He was uninvolved. He didn't play a single game since last July, so it was a big risk for every club. And Sterling doesn't need to get himself into a similar situation. Of course, different trajectory because he was still playing for Arsenal, Chelsea, in the last couple of seasons. But right now, he needs to lower his demand and understand that now he can be like a rotation player if you want to look at the top half of the table. Otherwise, a top player, but for clubs maybe abroad. I think not in the Premier League. For me, his legs are a little bit gone for me, honestly, compared to the speed and pace and progression that he used to have in his best years. With Liverpool and Man City especially.
Yeah, it's one that will make a huge amount of sense. Adonis, your thoughts on that one, but also,
yeah,
the possibility of a Harry Wilson walking in the door deadline day as well. They've just signed Oscar Bob. It looks like he's definitely not going to sign a contract at Fulham, which means he'll go for free at the end of the season. Did he cash in now?
Well, that'd be fun. Getting Harry Wilson. He was having fun with the Leeds fans during the Fulham game. And I also think it would be hilarious if Buonanotte didn't play for a second club, went on loan to a second club and then didn't play there either. I think that would be absolutely hilarious, and it would be a little bit of revenge too, because we almost had him through the door. Then he decided to go to Chelsea, which is obviously unforgivable. And the worst thing about it was he was like, "Oh, I'm so excited to play in the Champions League." Then 2 days later, he gets left out of the Champions League squad, which was brilliant. In terms of Raheem Sterling played his best football in a possession-based team, and his speed and his technical ability got him a few yards on defenders like 4 years ago. And like Andrea has rightly said, I feel like his legs have gone a little bit. And he's definitely not worth the wages that he was on. And he clearly wasn't good enough to play for Chelsea or join their loan army. There are 7 clubs in the Champions League who are interested in him. And yeah, good luck to him. He's not coming to Leeds. So that's a bit of fun, I guess, that people are having, but it's not realistic at all, and it wouldn't work out in any way. But it's a nice conversation.
Yeah.
Remember when people had apparently spotted and posted a picture of Rodrigo De Paul years ago in a Leeds bar, something similar to that. Yeah.
Square Ball are responsible for that as well. They got everyone's hopes up having conversations with him. Yeah. Yeah, look, it's the end of silly season, so it gets a bit sillier towards the last couple of days. But yeah, it's I just looked at it from what Daniel Farke has said about what he wants. He wants players that can come in and hit the ground running. He doesn't want players that aren't playing football, and he doesn't play with wingers right now. So those two alone for me mean, yeah, and then the wages on top of that, because I mean that would absolutely smash Leeds' wage budget out the window, because I think the highest amount of money someone in Leeds is on is either 90,000 or 95,000 a week. So someone coming in on 280 grand or looking for 280 grand, yeah, not going to happen, I don't think. Right, so that's probably all the transfer stuff, unless Leeds have got another little gem hidden up their sleeve that they haven't told us about. Edward Spurgeon, please. That's just my own preference. But I'd kill for him. I'd kill for him. Won't happen. I'm never going to get it. But we've got a game of football at the weekend as well, Andrea. We've got Everton coming up, an important game. Then if I said the usual things about that we sorry, Arsenal played Everton.
Yeah,
Arsenal. Yeah, thanks, mate. So the usual things about it. But keep me honest, mate. Keep me on track. But he said toughest task of the season so far. Lots of praise for Arsenal and Arteta, league leaders. But we know what we're capable of as well. I wonder if Leeds going to try and shorten the technical area a couple of yards as well, just like bring it right back so Arteta can't go wandering onto the pitch. But this is, I don't like the term free hit because it's not a free hit. You never know what Leeds will do in Ellen Road. You could very much get points in this game, but it will be an interesting one to see how Leeds' turnaround is against the side that absolutely took us apart in the first half of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very intriguing, because if we recall that game, I think it was probably the most difficult one for us, the one at the Emirates in North London, because I remember Stark trying to follow Zubimendi all around the pitch and not having the pace to track him back. Of course, we were playing with a different system, because we were still playing with a 4-3-3. We had Dan James and Yont, I think, on the wing as the wingers that day. We had one shot on target when James shot back then. Then we're absolutely.
Pascal had a header as well that probably should.
Yeah, that header. Yeah, true. Those two chances, then we absolutely struggled, because they were moving between our midfielders and defenders. A lot of movement in our final third, in our own half, and our midfielders, like Tanaka, was too wide, absolutely encircled by the midfielders. All alone in the middle. Our number 6. I cannot remember if Ampadu was playing in that game or Gruev.
No,
I think one of them. Yeah, it was Gruev. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It was Gruev. Then you had Stack struggling after that very good start against Everton. So yeah, it would be interesting, especially seeing how we line up front, honestly, because I think it worked against Everton because in the first half we had Aronson going wide. We had Stack moving well off the ball. We connected a lot down the right-hand side, with Bogle, Stack, and then the running behind by Bogle on that side, following up very good shape. Then when they switched to the back 3, Everton, we absolutely didn't adapt till the final 5 minutes of the game. We were too deep. We were attracting pressure, and DCL, Aronson, they weren't pressing anymore compared to the first half. We were dropping back and back and back and back. And then Faka made the right changes. The problem is that he made the right changes with 5 minutes to go, because in the end we had the chance with Okafor. Longstaff had that shot, that went over the bar. Then there was that chance when Okafor got inside, So we had chances eventually. So I'm intrigued to see if he wants to play with that more technical 3-4-3 with Okafor. Usually it's that, and Aronson in the middle, but moving forward, of course, the way Stack did at Everton, or if he wants to move and line out similar to what he did at Everton, with Aronson behind DCL with that free roll, I think in that sense, because we need more pressure, more players up front trying to press their back line. Otherwise, if we concede them the possession straight from the beginning, I think we might be in for a game similar to the second half in Liverpool, So I'm more inclined to see like Okafor on the left, or even not Okafor specifically, but even Aronson and Buonanotte behind DCL with the capability for Bogle to progress forward, because they are more internal players, Buonanotte and Aronson. we've seen that Justin was playing more like Firpo, when he was progressing forward, like staying in a more center area with Aronson going wider, in that sense, and it worked in the first half. So I'm more inclined to that, honestly. I'm more inclined to that. I watched a bit of Arsenal yesterday. Of course, they were playing against Kairat Almaty, so not the best opponent. They were already top of the table, guaranteed in the UCL league phase. They rotated a lot. Havertz came back from injury, scored. Yeah, they have infinite depth. We know what we can expect. We know our third lines up. A lot of possession, players progressing, carrying the ball from midfield, especially Rice. So it would be a very, very tough challenge. But if we set up the right way, like we've shown against Liverpool, Chelsea, those kind of games, I think we, especially at Elland Road, we have a chance to get at least. Even a point would be good, against Arsenal in this case. But we really have a chance if we line up like similar, like we did against Chelsea, for example, or Liverpool. We've seen that we can compete toe-to-toe in these kind of games at Elland Road.
Yeah, it's a shame it's not like an evening kickoff under the lights. It's a
Yeah.
normal time on a normal day of the week, which we're not used to that many of those kind of games. Adonis, to Andrea's point, it will line up different. We know the system at the very least will be different to the 4-3-3. But we're likely to have 5 different starters for Leeds in that game because the team that lined up on that day was Perry in goal, Goodmunson, Bogle, Rodon, Stroke, Stack, Gruev, Tanaka, James, Piroe, and Nanto. You're likely to not see Nanto, Piroe, James, Perry, possibly the one of Tanaka or Gruev as well. So it will be a different looking Leeds United side, but the key point will be the approach to the game for Leeds. Do we do what we did in the second half against Everton, sitting our 18-yard line? I think if we do that, we're going to get picked apart. Or do we, to Daniel Farke's point, try and limit their opportunities and do that by stopping them getting into our half by playing our own football and pressing them high? Where's your head at going into this game? And what do you think Leeds need to do for this one?
Well, we'll need to sit in a mid to low block for probably the majority of the game. I mean, that's just anybody who's playing Arsenal, unless they're, PSG or somebody of an exceptionally talented and expensive squad. I mean, this is let's not kid ourselves. This is the team who've gone 8-0 in the Champions League. So they are the best team in Europe, and they're the best team in the Premier League. But the thing is that in that first game, right, we lost 5-0. It looks bad. They were just very effective. They were very efficient. It kept going in all of their set pieces. They get a goal. The thing that worried me was we looked overawed. It was earlier in the season, so I think we've settled now. But they stepped out onto that pitch and they looked a little bit scared. Like for the only time I've ever seen this team look like that, a little bit, imposter syndrome. But we've got a completely different style of play. I mean, we sat so deep in the second half at Everton because they matched up with us and their wing backs pinned our wing backs, and they weren't looking behind. I mean, we obviously needed to bring on wingers to give them something in behind to worry about, and then push their wing backs back. So that was very obvious, and that was what was annoying me about Daniel Farke in that second half. And a lot of people online were saying how entitled the fan base is because they were complaining about Daniel Farke not making changes. But a blind dog could have seen that we needed to make changes. I mean, at 60-minute mark, all of the momentum was going the other way. And the thing about Farke is,
I didn't hear one person say we should stay as we were. There wasn't one voice that said leave it as it is. Everybody was saying change it.
Yeah. But afterwards, we're all entitled because we're complaining. After that 60-minute mark, all of the momentum was going their way. It was so obvious. And whenever we are leading, he doesn't make changes. He likes to keep that couple of substitutes in the back pocket to waste time at the end, right? Whenever we're behind and his back is against the wall, that is when you see the real Daniel Farke come out with the knife between the teeth. And then he makes these big, bold, aggressive changes to the biggest one that Etihad at halftime, obviously, which has saved his career at Leeds, and it's transformed the season. But I would just encourage him not. He talked about it afterwards, being in fear of changing things because then it would lead to us. But if every action, even if it's an inaction, has a consequence. So doing nothing had a consequence. So I just think this game, we're obviously going to go in with a 3-4-2-1, 3-4-3 type system. I think that's good. I like Buonanotte. Andrea talked about Buonanotte starting. What a cameo. What a cameo against Everton. He gets shot in the lip. Suffers a terrible concussion. I thought he was in a coma for a second. Then he made a miraculous recovery like Lazarus back from the dead. Yeah, it's the Bible reference for the children. And has a shot, and then he kicks the ball away, throws the ball. He got a yellow card as well. He was only on 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I like the look of Buonanotte. He needs to calm down a little bit. Needs to work on his discipline. Leeds have been great at their discipline. But yeah, they've got a chance. They can't sit deep. We've got to take the game to Arsenal. We've got to put them under pressure. They're having a wobble. A little wobble, a mini wobble, the tiniest wobble that you've ever seen, but they are having a wobble, and we might be able to get them.
It's still January, so we're still playing them in January. So the wobble season for Arsenal is still very much on. So if we're ever going to catch them, it's in this. I'll just get a couple of just not necessarily score predictions off it before we wrap up, but just like result predictions. Like Andrea, a draw is a fantastic result against Arsenal. Then you go into Nottingham Forest at home, which is a massive game. That's the one.
Yeah.
That you want the 3 points in. But if you can get anything off Arsenal the weekend, it's a good result, isn't it?
Yeah, I would be happy, like I said, with a draw, honestly. I know people always expect to win and then draw, it's like a fortress, but absolutely, it would be a confidence builder again. In the end, it would be in the Premier League, another good result in an 11 run when you just lost one, make it 12 if you want to add the derby game in the FA Cup. But yeah, we need every point against a top 6 club in the Premier League is valuable. Like every point away, despite the fact that I like what Adonis said, because in the end it's constructive criticism, Like the first half probably was one of the best first half we've played this season against Everton. The second half probably Ed Farke changed earlier, made those changes that he made in the 85th minute. Because even Longstaff, is not the fastest player, but at the opportunity following up the play and going behind guard, to have that opportunity where the ball went over the bar, But it's always constructive criticism. It seems like that sometimes in the fan base, when you are pointing out certain things, just judging the performance, not it's like a lot of black and white, in modern football, where you criticize, it's like, oh, I hate, I don't like that person. But it's not like that, there's always space for praise and criticism in the same sentence for me, in the same game too, like first half was one of the better in this season, at least in the first half of the season so far. And the second half, we weren't great. If we look at the second half, we deserve to lose probably. But looking at the first half, the draw was the fair result. So yeah, I will be happy with a draw, definitely, again, against Arsenal. It will be very difficult. I remember the game when we were under March, then Bamford, if I remember correctly, was Van der March or was still Bielsa that season? I can't remember. When we had the opportunity with the penalty and we missed the penalty. Against and then Newcastle? They scored no, it was against Arsenal, that game.
Oh, okay.
I think it was the one when Rodrigo misplaced the pass and got the ball
whip
to them.
Across the park, that was Marsh.
Yeah. That was on the Marsh, yeah. Because we had, I think it was Bamford with that penalty. I think if I remember correctly, my mind maybe is not as good as it was, my memory. But I remember one game against Arsenal. One, the Bielsa, we were playing basically with drama because we had a COVID crisis and injury crisis. And the other one was under Marsh, And we
I'm
absolutely
just shiver after shiver over here.
I noticed that. Yeah,
it's like nails on a chalkboard every time you say Marsh.
It's like
Cody Drama signed for Borussia Dortmund jet, or is that still floating around? Where is he playing now? I've no idea. Sorry, I try.
No, no worries. I realized that the name of E must not be named at this point. it's like the Dark Lord. Yeah, but I remember that we were absolutely great that game. Arsenal were struggling, but eventually they won 1-0 because they had that shot, after that misplaced pass. But anyway, a draw would be a very good result for us. If we got the 3 points, over the moon, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, Adonis, we'll get all the PTSD out of our systems before we give you the final word on this.
My fault, my fault.
Also, just to point out, Sky Sports, Paul Dowling has now come out saying that the Palace's Strand Larsen deal is now hanging in the balance. So, good news. We've got more Strand Larsen news in the morning and for the rest of the weekend probably as well. Everyone's going to love that. So, it's interesting, Andrea, about the constructive criticism, because you have to criticize. And they always say you learn nothing from winning. You only learn when you lose. That's something that you kids football is taught as well. But I know I listened to Martin O'Neill when he came back into Celtic the second time doing an interview, and they asked him the great result. Did you obviously praise the players? And he went, actually, no, I didn't. I never got to that. He said I just pointed out a couple of things that we need to work on. And I know when I used to coach, if we won a game, and especially if you win it well, it's very easy to go in and pat yourself on the back. But more often than not, I'd walk into the dressing room and go, before we get to the good stuff, a couple of bits. And I'd go through all the negative stuff first. And then I'd finish off with, by the way, great result, well done, see us next week. So you have to be able to criticize, and you have to look for areas to improve constantly. If you sit on your hands and think, got a couple of results in the last few weeks with a finished article, you're going to get rocked by somebody. And then you're going to ask, well, what happened? Where did that come from? Always be mindful of the little cracks, because they develop over time. You've got to address them. So yeah, it's always constructive criticism. As soon as they walk out on the pitch the following week, we're of course 100% behind the lads, as we always are. But Adonis, final words for tonight going into the weekend against Arsenal?
Yeah, well, just picking up on that point, I just think continuous quality improvement. There's always something you can do to improve. And if you're not thinking about that, if you're not analyzing it, if you're not talking about it, then you're going to get left behind. And people are always, especially your opposition, they're always watching you and seeing what are you doing. So if you're not constantly improving, they're going to get you next time. So of course, it's always important to analyze and look at what you've done, and not be content with a draw away at Everton, even though that's good for a newly promoted side. And I know all of the narratives, but let's see. Okay, what could we have done better? I've never predicted a Leeds loss, and I'm not going to start now. And I very rarely predict a draw either. So I'm going 2-0, and I think we'll be tighter. I think we've got revenge in our minds. We haven't been blown away this season. Just that, aside from that game. So we've got a lot to prove. We've come along really a long way. And you talk about quality improvement. You look at the team that we've got now. You look at that team. You read through the lineup before. I mean, Nonto, Piroe, Dan James. That was the front three. I mean, none of them have played. I mean, we are a team transformed now. And this Leeds United team that plays Arsenal Ellen Road on Saturday at 3 p.m. and I'll be in the Kop for it. That is going to be a very, very different prospect for that Arsenal team to deal with, and it will pose problems to them that they haven't had to deal with yet this season. So I'm going 2-0. There's no talking me out of it. I realise how preposterous it is.
It's okay. There's a Joe Blackburn somewhere predicting a 4-0 win to Leeds. That's the same as the positive as well. So, folks, we will wrap it up there. We're back in the morning with more Leeds news. You can check Adonis out at the Roaring Peacock podcast. Details of that will be down below. And Andrea over on the Unfiltered podcast on Lockie Leeds YouTube channel. Again, we're checking that one out as well. Adonis, thanks very much, mate, for taking time to chat to us tonight. Andrea, always a pleasure to have you on as well.
Always a pleasure,
We'll have something around deadline day. We will have a live stream in the morning of deadline day, and then we'll have something. Alex might be sitting in for me on Monday night. Alex hosts the Sunday sessions on the channel for our audio listeners and our members. So Alex might be sitting in for me on Monday evening for the final hour or two of deadline. I might make an appearance at some point, but plenty more content to come over the course of the weekend. Check the lads out, and thanks for taking some time out of your evening to join us and watch and listen. I'll talk to you soon. See you later. Bye.